What is up, everybody? Air Raid Mike here, your host of the unscripted, unfiltered, 100% authentic. You're listening to the Air Raid Attack podcast, and it's been a while since I've been on, but hey, it's a busy time, I guess, from August till now, but I am on vacation and cannot complain because trust me, I am loving this, even if it is a staycation. Nothing wrong. Without further ado, I have the honor and privilege of getting to know two great people, and I would say, I guess, and within the last month or two, have been talking about getting these two gentlemen on. They are the co-hosts of the Talkin Sports Podcast and also brothers in Jesus Lovers. Which, hey, growing up a pastor's son, I'm all about that. Mr. Jeremiah and JD, guys, welcome to the Air Raid Attack. And how are you guys doing this afternoon?
Doing great. Thanks for having us. Super excited for this opportunity for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Doing very good. Thank you so much for having us on. This is actually the first time that we've been guests on someone else's podcast, so it's an honor, and we definitely appreciate it.
Hey, I appreciate, my honor. And, I always am all about, networking and forming friendships and true story. There's also another brothers that do a podcast, the Herb and Raj podcast. And it reminds me so much of them because I was, what was it? What's the best way? Pretty much, this was their first time in a way of being invited on somebody else's podcast. So, hey, the honor is there and the respect as well. And tell the listeners out there, of course, a little about your guys' show and a little about yourselves as we roll on into the show.
Okay, perfect. Well, again, Jeremiah and our brothers. I'm the older brother, so he's my younger brother for about 11 years younger than me.
Very nice.
We are PKs as well. I didn't actually realize that you were a PK, but we're PKs as well, so we definitely understand that lifestyle. But we just love sports, and it's actually been almost a year for our podcast since it's launched. We launched last year in December, so it's been about a year. Love again growth. It's been there, and just enjoying it. Just being able to talk sports on YouTube and just enjoying the platform for sure.
No, it's the PK life is definitely something special, and a lot of people will talk negative about it. And as I always say, I haven't lived that perfect life, but I know the one I pursue the one that does, and that is perfect. So without His grace, hey, I'm just living life at that point with no purpose. So trust me, I've had my fair shares of failures, but hey, that's why He died, right?
We all have, and
Yes,
no,
sir.
no one's perfect, and so if we can share anything to any of our listeners out there, and it's we're all saved by grace, and anyone can be, and so that's the important thing for sure.
No, absolutely. And let's get into some football. Of course, the college football playoffs are starting this week, and we got to ask the question. I just got off of one. In your guys' opinion, did Alabama get snubbed, or the college football playoff get it right with SMU?
Yes, I'm gonna go first, Jeremiah. Let me go first, and I just wanted to say that coming on this podcast specifically, I know you're an Oklahoma fan.
Yes, sir.
I believe you work for for the program, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, sir.
And I just want to personally say a shout out to the Oklahoma Sooners for what they did that last week of the season, defeating the Alabama Crimson Tide. We, as Clemson, living in Clemson country, we know Brent Venables, and we
Mm-hmm.
know his style. He's a big game coach,
Yep.
and that was seen in that last game, 24-3.
Mm-hmm.
That's remarkable, and if his season may have not had the success that he may have wanted, but that win just solidifies everything that he is and everything that the program can be moving forward. So to answer your question, no, Alabama was not snubbed. They deserved to be out of the college football playoff, and I think the committee did the correct thing in that regard.
Yeah, I agree. For me, SMU deserved it more.
Yep.
Um, they showed they could compete with a powerhouse team like Clemson. With that game being 34-31, but yeah, the Oklahoma loss was just too bad. You can't lose that game like that and expect to be in the playoff. So I don't think they got snubbed.
Well, no, and the comment made on the Gabriel show I just got off of, and it's plain and simple. I mean, whether the comment came up or not, you don't lose to. Well, you probably shouldn't have lost to Vanderbilt. Let's just be honest. And
Correct.
no disrespect to Oklahoma, I'm not bashing our team. Grew up an OU fan. I'm gonna die an OU fan, but love this team. But one of the worst teams in 30 years. I mean, let's just be honest. You probably shouldn't have lost to us either. But the fact and how bad it was, yeah, the committee got it right, and I'm glad it's pretty much because of us is why they got snubbed. And hey, 6-6 and going to the Armed Forces Bowl, but knowing Alabama's not in the playoffs is pretty sweet.
That's a win.
Not gonna lie.
Yeah, that's a win.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
But speaking of playoffs, let's get into it. Of course, Clemson, it's gonna be a fun one down in Austin. Clemson and Texas. It's the first, obviously, first year the playoffs expanded, and I don't know when the last time Clemson played Texas. I can't vouch on that. I didn't do my research on that one. But
I think
hey,
if I'm not mistaken, I think it's the first time.
I would say I'm gonna have to Google that one real quick. I would say that would probably be, I'm sure, right on board. But let's go Texas. Of course, a physical team. I'm curious how they bounced back after the heartbreaking loss in overtime to Georgia in the SEC championship game a few weeks ago. What are you looking at in this game? Could we see potentially a Texas blowout? Or do you think Clemson can, obviously, because Dabo's been in these situations, that just as you mentioned with Brent Venables in these big games, can Ewers, I believe I believe he suffered an injury in the Georgia game. Not for sure how that, or earlier this season, I should say. Um, can Texas be Texas that we know that they can be, or can Texas be the team that we've seen, drop twice to Georgia, a very good Georgia team, but of course, at the end of the day, probably could have, at least when the SEC should have probably won that one. But
Yeah.
is Texas going to just dominate, or can we see an upset in Austin with the Clemson Tigers?
Jeremiah and I spoke about this on our last episode, but I think that line is too high. The last time I checked, it was like 11 and a half.
Mhm.
I just think it's too high. I understand that Texas is at home, but I think this is going to be a close game. I really do. I don't see Texas blowing out any good team unless it's just a terrible game from Clemson, turnovers left and right, unable to do anything. But that hasn't really been Clemson all season. And yes, they haven't really gone against anybody as good as Texas since Georgia the first week of the season. But I think Clemson can cover. I'm picking them to win, not just because I'm a Clemson fan. I'm also a Texas fan. I've watched Texas since those Vince Young days, so I understand what they can be. But I think this is I think it's going to be a very good game. I've got Clemson coming out of this one on top.
Yeah, I tend to agree. I wouldn't be surprised if Texas wins this game, but I think it all depends on how they start. Um, if Quinn is looking like he's seeing Georgia and not Clemson, um, then he might be in for a tough one. But I really like Clemson this game. I think coming off of the success, that late game against SMU really just gives them momentum. Um, and this time in the season, it's all about momentum, I feel like.
Mm-hmm.
So I like Clemson. I definitely think it's going to be close. I could see it going either way, but I'll go Clemson in this one for sure. Can they start fast, and can they really just hold Texas offense to a minimum?
See, I know, of course, seeing Texas up close and personal, headed that back down to the Red River, which I'm thinking to the point, you know, the Red River game, the Red River shootout is a down in the Cotton Bowl is a game that even if you're not an OU or Texas fan, it's a must attend just because of the atmosphere. However, I've gone to I've gone to the discussion and to the point on my end that I'm absolutely horrendous and horrible bad luck for Oklahoma. The two games I went down there was this year we scored 3 points, and then 2 years ago we scored zero and a 49-0 loss. So at this point, I think I've been banned in the Cotton Bowl. There is no truth to that. I'm banning myself until further notice. Uh, but that is a true story. A friend of mine, David, texted me and he was like, "Dude, you're no more." I'm like, "Well, I thought this year would at least been better than the last one, but it is what it is."
Yeah.
But anyway, um, one area I think with Texas is going to be, I think, an eye to keep an eye on is how ineffective the running game has been. The running game has been overall this season. I know Clemson at times has, and I may not, I don't watch many Clemson games, but I know the games I have watched, it seems that they has had a issue stopping the run. But can Texas overcome that? It's hard to tell. As much as I'm going to vouch on what I said earlier, I'm going to pick Texas as much as that really, really hurts my heart and my soul.
Yeah.
However, I would love to see Clemson upset in Austin. That would just, at this point, I don't care who wins the national championship. But it's going to be an interesting one, I think, and I like this matchup, and I hope it's a good one. And I think Dabo is going to come to Austin, and I think he's going to have his team ready.
Yeah, for sure. I think some of the keys to the game is Clemson's defensive line. Um, they've done very well this season, but we know Quinn Ewers is not a mobile quarterback.
No.
So we're gonna see some blitzes. We're gonna see some schemes that he may not seen before, and so those guys, T.J. Parker, Peter Woods, Barrett Carter, those guys are gonna come through and try to slow him down. And um, I really want to see some. So I watched the Georgia game, of course,
Mm-hmm.
and it seemed like every time viewers dropped back, it was just comebacks. And I want to see some diversity in the offense. I want to
Yeah.
see, more than just those swing out routes to the flat, more than just some comebacks. Clemson secondary can be beaten if Quinn is protected. But I think the run game is going to be the key for both teams. Phil Maffa is coming off a shoulder injury. And so, how limited is he going to be? The break, I'm sure, has helped.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know for sure if we're getting Kelvin Banks back for the playoff game, but he's going to be a huge factor if he does play, and just protecting Quinn. But the defensive and offensive line is going to be the keys for the game for sure.
Yeah, I agree. The interesting thing is, I think Quinn's only thrown over 300 yards, maybe 2 or 3 times this season.
Oh.
So they rely on the run game. Now, the interesting thing is that Texas also has a good run defense, but
Mm-hmm.
recently Clemson hasn't been running that much with Maffa, playing hurt and things like that. So if Clemson comes out, man, running and gunning, like throwing it. With Texas's limited offense, and if Clemson can stop the run, I don't think Texas will really have that much to go off of. Now, again, like I said, it depends on how you start. If Texas starts hot, it might be tougher to Clemson to come back and play down. But I guess we'll have to wait and see.
Clemson wins in Austin if what?
Clemson wins in Austin if they win the turnover margin. I think that's going to be the key. Um, when Clemson turns the ball over, they get in their own head. The play
Right.
calling changes, and so they have to take advantage of their drives. But yeah, I think if they win the turnover margin, I think they'll win.
Clemson wins if they stop the run.
I like that one.
Simple as that.
First, I think the first one to start off the college football playoff, Indiana, or not Indiana. Yeah, it's Indiana going to Notre Dame. I did. And by the way, you guys are correct. This is the first ever time that Texas and Clemson will play each other. So definitely interesting on that one. Of course, this one goes back to 1900 that Notre Dame will host. I saw this, which is weird. 1900 since the last time Notre Dame played a game on Friday in Notre Dame Stadium, and it was 5-0 against. They beat Chicago Physicians and Surgeons or something like that. So anyway, it's cool. It's Chicago. Yeah, there it is. Chicago Physicians and Surgeons 5-0 1900. The last time Notre Dame played a Friday night in Notre Dame Stadium.
Shout out to the Physicians, man. The whole Notre Dame 5 points. That's something.
Well, my question is, who played for who was in the first half, the Physicians or the Surgeons, and who finished out the game? Because I like to know why. I mean, I'm just saying. Anyway, bad joke. But it's funny how this Notre Dame team's the same team that lost in Northern Illinois in week 1 or week 2, I should say, coming off an A&M win, but. Indiana, of course, showed some poise, but when it came up with the big boys, they can't. They have a hard time offensively, and the list goes on. Any issue that we're going to see with Notre Dame, or can Indiana get back to its ways that they have been when it came to the rest of the 10 games that Indiana played, or do we think Notre Dame's just going to run this one, which I think is going to happen?
Go ahead.
JD, I realizing it, did some more research after we did our episode. And I think we both picked Indiana, right?
I think so. Yeah.
I might have to change my pick because the more I think about it, the more I'm like, bro, Notre Dame might run away with this. So Indiana almost lost to Michigan, right? And they did lose to Ohio State, which is, Ohio State's a good team, kind of. Mm-hmm. Notre Dame really is a pretty good offense. I mean, one of the best offenses in college football. Now, again, they haven't played a lot of great talent, but for this one, I think Notre Dame, I'm gonna have to switch my pick. I'm gonna go Notre Dame. If Notre Dame, I don't know. Can we call it a Cinderella run for Indiana? Is that what this is?
Yeah, I think so.
I would consider it. Yeah, I would.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like it's safer to go Notre Dame. That's my pick.
I'm glad you went first, because I figured you might flip, but I'm not flipping. I like Kurt Cignetti, the coach for Indiana.
Mm-hmm.
I really like what he does. His tenacity. I think he's going to have Indiana ready to stop what Notre Dame does. Losing to Ohio State is not, that's not a bad loss by any means. And so, I'm going to pick Indiana to upset Notre Dame. Both teams being in Indiana, I consider it a rivalry.
for
I
sure.
don't know when the
Yeah.
last time they've played, um, but yeah, I like Singeti, so I'm gonna go Indiana.
I
About to
feel like
find that for you.
Notre Dame's Notre Dame's rushing attack is very strong. I think it might overwhelm Indiana, maybe, but it's gonna be a rivalry for sure. It's gonna be crazy.
Let's see. So Indiana at so this is the series between Notre Dame and Indiana. They're 4-8 in Bloomington, and then they're 1-13-1 when they go to South Bend.
Ooh.
The the last time these two teams met was September 7th, 1991.
Oh
They lost 49-27, and prior to that was 1958. So we're going way far back.
Jeez. It's been a
so
minute.
maybe it's not a rivalry, even though they're like right there.
They never play. That's interesting.
Yeah, it seemed like they would have, but Indiana hasn't really been good for a while, so
Mm-mm.
um, it kind of makes sense, I guess.
And I'm checking this just to make sure that it's accurate. So the last time they won in South Bend was November 5th, 1898,
Whew.
11-5.
Goodness.
So
What's up with Notre Dame scoring 5 points? I don't get it.
No idea.
but no, I think at the end of the day, I think Notre Dame take away nothing for what Indiana has done this year. Phenomenal turnaround. Notre Dame, Indiana, just like a Vanderbilt, we're known for them more being bottom of the barrel of the conference and
Right.
more of the pushover, the 2-10, the 2-10 records, and so on and so forth. Phenomenal season. I'm not taking anything away from them and what they've done this year. South Bend, of course, is a hard place to win. I mean, not going off of this 1-13-1 record that they have against Notre Dame on the road, but but at the end of the day, it's just I wish I knew what Indiana team's going to come out and um, really show out what they could do.
Yeah.
Hopefully, it's a good game. I think this is the one that there's going to be a blowout. It's probably going to be this one of the first round. Um, I just
Yeah.
I
I
gotta
can,
stick with
I can see that.
I gotta stick with Notre Dame. The 7 points I think is what the line shows. I would probably take that honestly, if not more. But
Yeah.
um, going on to the next one, SMU at Penn State. Weather I know could be an impact. I think I saw SMU's tweeting out the Barstool account, at least anyway, if that means anything, saying how they like the snow weather or white stuff or something like that. Supposed to be snowy on Saturday, but Penn State, of course, offensively is very explosive.
Yeah.
They can definitely put up points. As I always say with Lincoln Riley in the quick. However, SMU at the same time, they can also score, but they can quickly score. But the defensive front for SMU, I think, was better than what some had predicted. I'm not going to lie, I don't recall of what the preseason ACC polls looked like and where they had SMU at ranking wise. I'm sure it's another. This could also be a Cinderella team, I guess, in a way.
Yeah.
Um, could we? I know the over under is 53.5. Um, any? Do we see the Cinderella SMU Mustangs continue to advance, or is this where the season ends for them in Happy Valley?
Yeah. I see SMU's run here. I think they have a shot though. Anytime you have the type of up tempo offense that they run, you can always catch teams off guard. Like you said, the elements will be a factor. So we'll see if that hinders the offense in any way. But I think this is going to be the battle of the Swiss Army knives. You got Brashard Smith for SMU, and then you got Nick Singleton for Penn State. Whoever whoever takes that matchup, of course, they're not going against each other, but offense versus the defense, whichever one does better in that matchup as far as their play for that game, I think that will have a huge impact on who wins. But again, we saw Penn State put up a pretty good amount of points against Oregon,
Mhm.
and they were in that game for most of it, and so I see that continuing. I just hope that James Franklin is ready for the moment. Typically, Penn State is always a game or two out. They with the format, it's really helping them this season because they typically have that one loss and then they're out. But um, hopefully, James Franklin will have them ready to play.
Yeah. When I watched SMU a couple of times this season. I really like their team. Great high offense. Mobile quarterback. Team seems very well rounded. Um, I think Penn State might just be a bit too much for them. I mean, you got the 1-2 punch of Singleton and Allen, both great running backs, and then you got the best tight end in the country, Tyler Warren. So I feel like Penn State will, they're used to playing. They're at home, used to playing in that kind of weather. Um, I think Penn State's going to take this one.
You're muted.
I think you're muted.
There we go. Can you guys hear me on my?
Yeah.
Yeah, we can hear you.
So somehow I can hear you from the computer. The browser somehow eliminated the audio, so I'm hearing from you guys from there. I can still hear you guys as long as you guys can hear me. I guess it's through my mic, and then I'm hearing you guys through the actual laptop, which is hey
Weird.
cool. Whatever, Chrome. We're still gonna make this work. Uh, but no, I'm with you guys on that one. I think SMU. I looked real quick. They finished fifth in the ACC preseason polls. So kind of, in a way, a great story. Hate for them to end it this way. But hey, I do think that I think SMU can give. I'm curious of how their SMU's defensive front is, especially in Penn State, a team that likes to, um, be explosive, as I mentioned earlier. Of course, at the same time, Penn State's biggest thing is giving up big plays at times. So it's curious how on this one how this is. Of course, weather I think will if it does snow. I don't know how much. Obviously, down in Dallas, they don't get much snow for the most part. So um, obviously, I'm sure the snow could play a factor to an extent. But I think Penn State wins. I do think it's a good game. But we'll see. Of course, and then, of course, this one. I think this is the most active one on Twitter or X, however people want to call it.
Yeah.
It is this one right here. It's going to be the Ohio State Buckeyes and the Tennessee Volunteers of the SEC and the Big
Yeah.
Ten. Probably the most interesting matchup. Um, obviously, I think I read, if I might be wrong, that the Ohio State's athletic director, I guess, publicly asked Ohio State fans to not sell their tickets to Tennessee fans on the secondary market, such as Ticketmaster, StubHub, TickPick, whatever else is out there. Um, I don't know how you can control that. I don't know if they do a questionnaire. I don't know. I
Yeah.
don't know how they do that before they sell tickets. I don't know. Of course, the fans are still upset. I know a few of them personally, if Ohio State fans, they're still upset with the Michigan loss. Kind of curious how they bounce back, just like Texas in the SEC championship game. I'm kind of curious how Ohio State bounces back. Of course, then at the same time, Rocky Top. Um, I mean, what Nico can deal if you leave him in trap, and I know by experience, you leave Nico in the pocket, and he can tear up a defense. At the same time, um, Tennessee ranks 11th in pressuring the quarterback. Ohio State ranks 8th. So it's going to be more of a defensive battle. I know Ohio State and the Big Ten has always been claimed to ground and pound. While the SEC is kind of however you want to look at it. I think someone told me Ohio State's offensive line's banged up. So I'm kind of curious how that's going to be. And at the same time, Tennessee's has some issues with pass blocking. With all that being said, and Will Howard, of course, being a Kansas State former Big 12, I kind of know him as well. Without further ado, over under, I think it's the under is 47, according to the line, which I don't bet, but I know a lot of people out there that do. The line is under 47. I say Tennessee Rocky Top wins in Columbus. What you guys think on this one as we wrap up the first round?
Yeah, I agree. This for me, this is the most exciting matchup. We talked about this on our episode, but I got Tennessee by 10. This is not a good Ohio State team, and coming off of the horrible loss that they had, I feel like momentum is not going to be on their side. They're not gonna have a lot of confidence. And honestly, with that, what you were talking about with the athletic director, that just screams fear to me. Doesn't seem very confident. So I like Tennessee in this one. I feel like Dylan Sampson really is one of the best running backs in all of college football. He kind of got overshadowed by Genty, of course, who's the best running back. But Sampson's a really good runner. And I don't think Ohio State will be able to deal with them. So I got Tennessee in this one.
Yeah, I got Tennessee as well. I think, like you mentioned, Mike, the key to the game is which Ohio State team are we going to come out and see.
Yep.
After the loss to Michigan, them being a rival, and just losing that game the way they did, and then the flag situation afterwards, the fight. Um, you know, you know, college kids they hold on to things, and they have trouble letting things go, and so it's going to be curious as to what Ohio State team we see. Their defense is pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
They have a great defensive line and good linebackers, but yeah, it's going to be a great game. I This one was probably the toughest to pick for me, other than the Indiana Notre Dame game, just because both of these teams have had long layoffs. They haven't played in a while, with them, of course, not making the conference championship game. So, which team are we going to see? But I like Nico, what he can do. Like Jeremiah said, Dylan Simpson, the running back, he's good. But Ohio State's at home, so that may play a big role in it. Um, I'm gonna pick Tennessee in a close one.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna go Tennessee. Nothing against Buckeyes, nothing against Ohio State. We're gonna talk hot coaches in 25. That's on the hot seat that we could see. You think Ryan Day safe even if he loses first round exiting to Tennessee, or could we see some heads rumble in Ohio State?
I'm waving because he'll be gone. No, I don't think so.
I personally thought he was gonna be gone after the Michigan loss, um, and that's probably a little bit harsh considering the fact that they're pretty much a lock to be in the playoff. But his they Ohio State and Michigan, they treat that game like the national championship.
Mm-hmm.
And he has not had success against them. He's pretty much had success against everybody else. And this Michigan team this year, this iteration of the team was not very good. Their record showed it. Now they have players, of course. Will Johnson, the cornerback, is going to be one of the highly drafted players this season, and he proved that just shutting that offense down with Jeremiah Smith at wide receiver. Um, so you know, yeah, I don't know if he stays if they lose this game. I could see him being fired for sure if they lose against Tennessee.
Seeing some comments roll through so far. Sooner. Okay, Boomer. Uh, real quick. Do you think Mateer signs with? I do think the kid from Washington State signs with Oklahoma. I don't see how he does it unless Miami offers a package deal that nobody could turn down. Which I mean, I can't hate on that. But speaking of the NIL and the transfer portal, as we move over from real quick, your guys' dark horse in the college football playoff. Any dark horses out there? Someone says Vols 34, Ohio State 17. I don't know if it'll be that bad, but I mean, would it be a blowout? Would it be a surprise if it was a blowout?
Yeah.
Not necessarily. It just depends on the vibe that Ohio State gives, in my opinion. But anything's possible nowadays. Any chance that we could see of like a Boise State or, well, that's really about it because everybody else is kind of predicted there. Could we see a Boise State run, or could this be the year that maybe the top 4 teams kind of balance each other out for the most part?
The two dark horses that I have are Clemson and Penn State. Um, just due to the road that they have, Clemson would play. Look at my notes here. Arizona State, yeah, and then Penn State would play Boise State. So um, I think those two have a good chance to make the semifinal, and then after that, who knows? Who knows what'll happen? They'll really be carrying momentum on their side from that point on. Um, those are my two dark horses. Georgia's defense is going to be really good. Your quarterback situation may have them kind of stutter a little bit, but I think their defense and their run game will carry them, to the semis more than likely. But yeah, those are my dark horses. Do I see them winning? Not really. It's going to be top 4, or at least Georgia and Oregon. I don't see Boise or Arizona State making it past there for first game, but Oregon and Georgia for sure have a good chance to meet in the national championship.
Yeah, I think my dark horse is definitely Clemson, just because they're the last seed in the college football playoff. But if I had to pick someone else, I think I would probably pick SMU or Penn State, and they're playing each other. But I think those are the teams that if they win, I think they have a shot to go on, just because I think they'd be a hard matchup for a lot of other teams in the playoff with how their offenses are ran. So those would be my two.
Any chance we could get a three-peat with Georgia, Texas?
Nah,
It's
I don't think so.
it's possible. We're gonna have to see a completely different Texas team though.
If Arch is in.
Yeah.
No, I think the winner of Clemson, Texas, real quick, I think they could easily run the table, at least get to the Final Four. I'm not saying anything bad about Arizona State. I don't know if Arizona State can compete. I know the Big 12 this year was bad all the way around.
Yeah.
I would love to see a Tennessee-Oregon matchup. That would be very interesting how that could play out. Boise State, I'm not bashing them or the Mountain West. I just don't know. I don't know. Penn State, I think, could easily beat them. I think SMU, I think Boise gets the hand. And Georgia, I don't know. Is Carson Beck going to be playing? I don't know on that one. Um, if he's out, I think that could be interesting, especially if it's Notre Dame. I don't know if he's going to be. I don't know. Well, I guess we'll see next week if that happens or not. But um, no, it's going to be interesting. I mean, 12 teams and um, do you think the college football playoff gets expanded anytime in the near future?
I think it's possible. Maybe they go 16, but I I don't want to see that. I don't think that's a good idea. I think 12 is a good cap. Um, but I wouldn't be surprised if they did.
I really like the format. I hope they leave it as is. I think with the additions of Arizona State, Boise State, SMU, um, Penn State, even a lot of these teams we haven't seen on this type of stage, and so it brings a sort of parity to it that we haven't seen before. So I think the ratings are going to be super super high with the games being on Saturday and the triple header. So close to Christmas, everybody's going to be home. Everybody's going to be watching. I think college football may surpass the NFL games that are going to be going on Saturday as well, especially with them being on Netflix. We know that travesty was terrible with the fight. So who knows what's going to happen with Netflix this weekend? I think the college football playoff is going to be held in high regard this weekend. I think a lot of people are going to be watching. So I hope they keep it as is.
I think for now 12 is good. I kind of Gabriel said in the last show, what would the expansion look like? I don't really know. 16, I don't know what that looks like. Do you dare go 24? I think that's insane.
No.
Yeah.
But you can't do any more than that because then it just gets weird. But no, I think it's gonna be. I think for now that they keep it. This year they did it right. There was no issues with anything. Bama, either you beat Vandy and you lose to Oklahoma, or you beat, or vice versa. And I think that would have probably put them in it. Especially if they would have beat Oklahoma, they would have put them in it nonetheless. But no, I think this year it's good. I think for now I think they're safe on that 12, and we'll just see it from there on that one. Your guys is real quick, and then we'll move on to coaches on the hot seat in 25. Your guys is national championship predictions.
I got Georgia, Oregon, and I got Oregon coming out on top. I'm not gonna give a score yet. I'll save that.
I really have to look at the bracket just to see how everything plays out. Um, I'm gonna say Clemson, Georgia. If that's possible, I'm gonna say Clemson versus Georgia in a rematch. I think um, this is what Dabo wanted from that first game. We saw a shift from that second game on to how they played Clemson. That is, Clemson was very vanilla. They didn't do a whole lot. They didn't show them a whole lot because they knew that they could possibly get in the playoff and have an opportunity to play them again. So I'm going to say Clemson versus Georgia in a rematch.
I'm gonna go out and we'll hit this rumor real quick. I'm gonna go out and go in. People say, "Well, of course you're gonna say this as it's a SEC homer." Tennessee just really something about. I know they're up and down.
Mhm.
If they can get by Ohio State, I'm really curious how they do with Oregon. let's just play it out. Even if it's Texas or Clemson, it doesn't. I think they could match up with either end. Or it wouldn't be surprising if you see a Tennessee Georgia. Now, my actual answer is going to be Oregon and Georgia. But it would not surprise me if Tennessee somehow gets to Atlanta. But my actual answer is Oregon and Georgia. I think they're the two best teams by far. I don't think Oregon is that far apart from 1 to 2 or even 1 to. Yeah, I think they're far apart from Boise State and Arizona State. But anyway, I think Oregon, Georgia. And I'm like Jeremiah. I'm not gonna give a score. It could be because you don't know what kind of injuries may play that. And then
Yeah.
for the Sooner fans listening and watching, there's rumors. This is definitely Oklahoma. This would be the most OU thing ever, I think, in history. Rumors that the current hire of Arbuckle is potentially rumored to go back to Washington State to become their new head coach.
Oh wow. Okay.
So we'll keep an eye on. We will keep an eye. Probably won't be throughout today, but definitely keep an eye on that and see how that turns out. That would not be. That would probably be the most OU thing. I think that would absolutely put the icing on today on this year's season right there. If Coach Arbuckle goes back to Wazoo. But anyway, Coach is on the hot seat as we move
Can I
forward.
just say one thing before we
Yeah.
move on?
Oh, absolutely.
Can we not have games in Atlanta for Georgia? I mean,
Ain't that the
like I can we pick any other neutral site? Like come on. I understand Mercedes Benz is nice, state of the art facility, but it's a home game for Georgia,
Yep.
and we're just continuing to do this over and over again. I don't like it personally.
Well, I'm going to say this and add to that. No, I agree with you 110%. Do we know is the national championship going to be like the Super Bowl? Are we going to be in different venues, or is this strictly going to be in the Mercedes Benz at Atlanta? I say I have no idea because I'm with you on that one because
Yeah,
the
I'm pretty
SEC
sure.
championship
I'm
game
pretty
is
sure
there.
it'll be different because they have the Sugar Bowl in Louisiana, the Fiesta Bowl, things like that. So they probably flip flop which venues get the national championship each year. But yeah,
I sure hope so. But no, you made a great point because that's been even with the addition is someone says who's winning the Super Bowl. Um,
The Chiefs. Who else
going.
would win?
Kansas City, unfortunately. Being a Denver fan, that hurts my heart. But Kansas City, I don't know. Minnesota is too inconsistent, even though they're 12-2.
The Lions.
Kansas City, I think Detroit's too many injuries for them. That's going to keep them
Yep.
out of it. But anyway, I say Kansas City, and it's probably not by. I think it's a good 20, 30 yards away. Yeah. So, but no, I think
Kansas City or Buffalo.
that'd be nice to see Bo Nix though. I think it's just too early still. We got our
Yeah.
quarterback, though. That's all I'm going to say. We got our quarterback.
You do have your quarterback. It's very true.
If we would have just made the field goal against Kansas City and not have blocked, we would have won. But, shoulda, coulda, would have is a whole lot different story.
Yep.
That's been the Chiefs' season.
Exactly.
Don't get me started.
Exactly. Coach is on the hot seat. I don't know everybody's name off the top of my head, so bear with me. Any major programs that could potentially see some new faces come 25 that could be on the hot seat in 25
Yeah.
for you guys?
Sam Pittman in Arkansas. He's on the hot seat. He has to produce a winning season at some point. Florida State. After the season that he had this season, there's only so much patience these ACC teams have. It's high, top of the market programs. there's only so much patience they have. So they did a lot this offseason so far to try to mitigate everything that happened this past season. And so if they have another bad season, then he may be out. Um, who else? I think so. So this is a dark horse hot seat coach, but I think Kalen DeBoer.
Ooh,
I
I've
know
got to say that one.
it's only this will only be his second season, but Alabama expects championships and at least an opportunity for a championship, and so they were embarrassed this season with losses to Vanderbilt, Oklahoma, and they lost to Ole Miss. That was the other loss, but um, yeah, he may not have very many more chances if it doesn't go well, in Alabama this season.
I definitely put Lincoln Riley up there at USC. Um,
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
I think that has been a train wreck ever since he got there. For the exception of Caleb Williams' Heisman year, and going back to the respect to the Broncos from a best friend, I got nothing wrong with the Bears. I feel bad for your organization more, if anything else. Caleb just, I don't know, poor kid. He just needs some help. But I think Lincoln's definitely on a hot seat. I'm gonna be I love Oklahoma, always will. I think Brent Venables could easily be on the hot seat. Unfortunately,
Yeah.
I know there's some rumbles. I think even halfway point, I think Joe Castillo even came out and said, "Hey, he's our guy. Just this is Oklahoma. Just be patient." So I think that kind of had to calm the waters down, type of deal. I still think Mike Gundy at Oklahoma State. I don't see how this guy has 9 lives still.
Yeah.
Um, and if it's not this year, I think Ryan Day, Ohio State.
Yep.
A lot of now, I'm just speaking from out here because we don't get the Clemson fan base. I know a few Clemson fans, but not many. Dabo, I know Dabo's name's always been mentioned. Could you see him? Do you see Clemson making a change? I put it that way.
No, no, I don't. And to be honest with you, I don't see Brent Venables. Unless the SEC and those boosters really want him out. I think that Alabama loss really gave them,
Right.
the Alabama win that Oklahoma had. I think that really gave them some some peace within themselves. It should have anyway. Um, it's a huge, regardless of what Alabama has been this season, that's still a huge win.
Yep.
And so I don't see Dabo going anywhere. He's just been too consistent. ACC championships, being in the playoff. Um, we'll see what he does this weekend, but I don't see him going anywhere. I just think the fans were getting a lot of fan rumbling based on their impatience or um, you know it's Clemson's success. Winning championships, and once you win championships, you always want to win
Hmm.
championships, and if you don't, um, people can be a little bit insensitive toward the coach. But Clemson's got a squad coming in next season,
Yeah.
and I think they're I think they're gonna run away with the ACC next season.
Yeah. I think Ryan Day was first on my list. Um, they care about what the fan base and the college thinks about the college football coach a lot. So um, if you're getting a lot of fan grumblings, that's not a good sign. So
Hmm.
I think Ryan Day for me. I had Hugh Freeze at Auburn. Um,
Ooh.
I don't
Yeah,
9-13, 2 seasons, not great. Was it Billy Napier at Florida? I think as
Yep.
well. Um, wouldn't be surprised if he's gone. Um, I had Lincoln Riley, but I'm thinking he might stick around. Maybe they may give him another year or two just to kind of see. Um, I think the last one that I had was Sam Pittman, Arkansas. Last one.
I'm not gonna lie, I'm a little surprised they kept him for one more year. I don't know if that's maybe contract based, and that's and I totally get that if that was the case. Figured he would have been out, but of course, maybe they see something more than than obviously we do. So I completely get it. And the last topic as we wind down the show, I don't know, guys. This transfer portal is pretty chaotic. um, I've never
Very.
seen so many players transfer and so many. I think I saw one that he used to play for OU. I think he's transferred 3 times before he got to OU, and then another 2 more times. So he's now landed at UCLA. Real quick, your guys' thoughts on this transfer portal. Is it good or bad for the sport? And what's the best way to kind of limit these kids' transfers? Should there be a limit, I should say?
It's a difficult um, topic to kind of discuss, just because they college has always had transfers, but
Exactly.
never to this extent. Um, and with the NIL and everything like that, now it makes it um, even more difficult to really kind of gather and fathom. But um, I think it's okay. I think there needs to be a limit to it, though. You have to have. Unfortunately, you just don't really have a lot of loyalty. But I think it stems from the recruiting initially. Um, if you can recruit the right guys that your program can be
Yeah.
good for, I think that's the main thing, because you want that loyalty from the beginning. And you want to set a standard for the program and the kids that are going to be playing, and that's just really important. You want those guys to stick and stay, and we understand people are going to transfer. Again, it's happened throughout college football for years, but it just taints the quality, and that's the unfortunate part of it, because it takes time. It takes time for teams to gel and put a good product on the field. It just takes time, and so it's unfortunate that we have so many transfers, but it's nothing that we can really do about it a whole lot. But I think limiting it would help.
Yeah, yeah, I tend to agree. I want to say it's good just because these college kids, not all of them are transferring just for a better deal or
Mm-hmm.
certain things. Could be a playing time opportunity. Different situations where a transfer might actually be necessary. So I tend to lean on the side that it's better for the sport, um, just because also it's more balanced. I
Yeah.
feel like there was a time for maybe a 4 to 5 year period where every top 100 ESPN player was going to Alabama or Clemson, and that was just kind
Mm-hmm.
of what it was, which was cool to see when those two teams played each other, but it wasn't very balanced. I feel like so. I feel like now it'll be more balanced, especially with the 12 team format. It'll be more competitive throughout the different leagues.
No,
And
I go ahead.
go ahead. No, I was just gonna ask. Speaking of transfers, how do you feel about Jackson Arnold transferring to Auburn?
Very touche on his part. Of course, Auburn comes. I think that's our season, SEC opener again. I think this year in Norman this time. So very touche on his part, if that had anything to do with it. But I have nothing against these kids, especially Jackson Arnold. Showed some flashes, but showed a lot of not so many flashes.
Yep.
Yeah.
I don't want to put out there, if he would have done this X, Y, and Z, we would have beat Tennessee and we would have beat Ole Miss and Missouri. And I mean, there's some miscues, especially if there's one game, it's definitely Missouri. But anyway,
Yeah.
um, if there's one game, it's definitely Missouri. But no, he had, just like the rest of these kids, he had to do what's best for him. I think he knows that the coaches are more tuned in to Michael Hawkins Jr. than Paulie Jackson Arnold is. I don't know, how much would have thought he went to Mississippi State. I knew he had a lot of close connection and close relationship with Jeff Libby. But that kind of surprised me. But I think that again brings back to, do I think he went to a school that guarantees playing Oklahoma this year? It may have. It may have. But I wish him all the best. I know Hugh Freeze, I'm sure, is excited to have a 5-star quarterback, then at the time number one out of Texas, and hopefully it works out for him and he sees success. And of course, the same for Michael Hawkins down here. So very interesting nonetheless. I'm curious how he does um, and how he progresses during the offseason and heading into whoever they play off before they lead to Norman next year.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. When I saw that, I thought about. I was like, man, I wonder how Mike feels about this one. But
Just like Nick Anderson and our tight end, can't think of his last name real quick. Going to LSU, it's cool. I mean, I get it. You got to play
yeah,
where you think you can win, and at the end of the day, at the end of the day, it's definitely about money now and playing.
oh yeah,
So whether or
yeah,
not he would have
definitely.
started a lot next year or not, I don't know. Well, I mean, we just won't ever know that. But I know Michael Hawkins Jr. is a stud. He showed from
Oh
the
yeah,
flashes, but I know, especially in that Texas game, the inexperience showed, and hey, that's why they're, you know, I'm glad he stuck it out in the long run, at least for another year. I put it that way.
right. I think the two teams that have kind of um, set themselves up for next season fairly well is Colorado and Texas A&M.
Yeah,
They've gotten some good transfers to come in with Caden Salter, and I think Colorado also got one of Alabama's defensive linemen. I think, if I'm not
Yes.
mistaken.
Top rated.
Um, yeah, yeah, and so Texas A&M, they got some decent players as well from the portal. They did lose Wegman, but again, their dual threat quarterback that they have at Texas A&M is more than likely going to be taking that spot. So
yeah.
better situation for them offensively. So um, it's kind of surprised Wegman went to Houston, but maybe he just wanted to stay in Texas, and I don't know if he has family there or where he's from, but
Yeah.
that was kind of surprising. But um, he'll he'll probably be starting for sure. So that's always important.
Who's one team that's got to win the portal in your mind this in the offseason this year?
Alabama.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
you could say a smaller school, but just as far as the big schools, I feel like they're leaving Alabama, going to other places. So that's what I would say.
I
I would
don't
agree
know.
with Maya on that one. I think Alabama's one. I think Oklahoma definitely's got to be one. If anything, the quarterback position and receiving core got to be your main
Yeah.
and offensive line. Definitely on the offensive side of the ball. Put it that way.
Yeah, I don't know who really needs to win it per se, but I will say shout out to the Clemson Tigers getting their first recruit from the portal, getting a 6'5" wide receiver out of southeastern Missouri, I believe. So I mean that's cool to see them, tip their toe in the portal. Um, you know, I think Miami. They're a team that
Mhm.
seemingly needs to like relied on the portal this past season, and with Cam Ward leaving, I think they need to continue that if they want to just try to get to the playoff after unfortunate season, losing to Syracuse like they did in that last game. Um, that's one team that I'm thinking about for sure.
Name, as we wind down, what is one team that keep an eye out in 2025 to potentially make a college football playoff run?
I want to say Colorado. A lot of people are kind of um, with Travis and Shador leaving. I think a lot of people are kind of putting them to the wayside a little bit. You know, losing some talent, losing their key guys. But um, I think I think they're gonna re up. I think they're gonna keep this thing rolling. Um, I think they wanted to be in this season, of course. And they had a shot to if they would have won that last game, but with the transfers that they're bringing in and the talent that they already had, I can see Colorado sneaking in.
Yeah, I gotta agree. I could say Miami, depending on how the portal and recruiting goes for them. You might be losing a little too much there, but no, I like Colorado as well. Um, Coming off of the best season ever, Dion being there, the way he's able to recruit and
Mm-hmm.
get team chemistry, they could probably get 11 or 12. I think so. I think they can definitely, win the conference. So um, I would say Colorado.
I was going to say Colorado. I think Michigan could be one. Could
Yep.
kind of keep an eye out on. I,
Yeah,
w- I said the same thing this year, and I bit my word. I quit on this one. I was going to say USC, but every time I say them, they drop an egg on a basket and they just fizzle out into the sunset. So we definitely
yeah,
won't be USC next year. But
right.
Michigan, Colorado would be my top two. I say probably Michigan. They showed it quite a bit against a really
They did.
decent Ohio State team. So I would say Oklahoma. I don't think we're there yet, but I do think in 26, I think we'll make a better run.
Speaking
Yeah,
of,
they're with the 12-team playoff. There's always going to be a couple teams that surprise us. The group of five
Hmm.
teams. Another team, I think Memphis is another team that could possibly sneak in as well. Um, they had a great season, and I think they were kind of overlooked a lot of the season. Their offense now. Seth Hannigan is, I think he's probably moving on.
Yep.
Um, but if they get another quarterback in the building, I think they have some younger weapons that are going to be coming back. So I'll say that's another team. Look out for the Memphis Tigers.
real quick, Mike, I got a quick question for you.
Is there?
Best Oklahoma quarterback ever. Who are you saying?
Ooh, that's a tough one.
Can you repeat that real quick? For some reason, Siri got connected. I don't know how that would. That was weird.
I think she wanted to answer too. No, best best Oklahoma quarterback ever. Who do you say?
Oh,
It's a lot.
You can go recent or a while ago, however you want to do it.
you can throw Hypo up there.
Hmm.
I know you had those moments in the '80s with Jamil Holloway. He was in the wishbone. You could go Sam Bradford, Jason White. I think Nate Hibble was a little underrated, but of course we all know Baker, Kyler. I still put Jalen as an Alabama quarterback, but he
Fair.
did great with Oklahoma.
Yep.
Caleb, I thought was going to be phenomenal. Steve Owen, oh man, you know, Kel Gundy, boy,
That's a tough one.
Can't forget
Oklahoma
about
has
can't forget about
had
Landry
good
Jones in there
quarterbacks.
man,
too.
What'd you say, Jerome?
So you can't forget about Landry Jones in there too.
exactly. Him and his 3 interceptions at least every other 2 games.
Yep.
But Baker, that's gonna be more of his logic. I'm gonna go out there and just say Josh Heupel, and the reason being, should he have won the Heisman in 2000? Well, Chris Winkie had a great year that year too. So I mean, you could go either end or, but
Yeah.
he's a kid that wasn't really highly recruited. Came from a school up in South Dakota, I believe. Just wanted to play, led a team that was, and I think Stoops said it. Or somebody said it wasn't that talented, but they were willing to, to fight for each other. I'll
Yep.
go out and say Josh Heupel. I think he was very underrated, especially in that 2000 season.
Yep.
I know a lot of people are going to be like, well, Baker, and I get all that. But you got to go with the quarterback that had a great season, give or take, should have, could have won a Heisman.
Yeah.
Winkie wasn't a bad quarterback, though, either, so it's not a bad loss. And, he's the last winning national champion quarterback. Until somebody can prove that otherwise, I think it's Heupel.
Yeah.
Man, there's a lot of good ones, though. Man.
I think Baker's probably the most electric for
Exactly.
sure. But
Yeah.
as far as accomplishments, yeah, it's probably Heupel.
Correct me if I'm
Baker.
wrong, but did Troy Aikman go there?
Mm-hmm.
He did. Okay, I thought so.
Yeah. And
He
got
probably
hurt, and
wasn't
that was it.
as he probably wasn't as talented, or not talented, but probably didn't do a whole lot as far as accomplishments. But I thought he
Yeah.
went there.
No, everybody knows him, I would say, more from UCLA, but he spent, I think, his freshman year here.
Okay.
The wishbone formation, the wishbone just wasn't. Of course, the injury to him didn't help at all.
Yeah.
Right.
But running back cores, I think that could be a tough one. Just like Jeremiah with the quarterback, best running back. I mean, that could go.
Oh yeah.
Man.
Legends in running
Oh
back.
boy. Now Oklahoma's had history and they got tradition. I think they're gonna get. We'll be back. We just got to be patient, and whether or not it is Brent or with somebody else, we'll be back. But we're headed into the right direction. I know the transfer portal probably isn't our best friend right now, but we'll get there. And I think the SEC is going to acknowledge that. And I'm not saying that they're going to go out and start winning 3 or 4 straight like we did in the Big 12 championships, but I mean, heck, we might do it too. I don't know. But no, we'll be back, but just got to be patient.
Yeah, definitely.
But for you guys, where can the listeners find you guys out on the socials and on your podcast and all that good stuff?
Yeah, so we're on YouTube, Talkin Sports Podcast on YouTube, and you can find us on Twitter at TSPJDN. And we're on the road to 100 subscribers on YouTube. And so just hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. And thanks for tuning in with us. And Mike, again, thank you so much for having us. It was a great time.
No, absolutely. Do it again, and I'll hit up the DM afterwards, talk some more, and no, we'll definitely keep in touch. And no, it was a fun one. I enjoyed it, and hey, Merry Christmas to you both.
Merry Christmas to you as well. Hey, we're like I told you before, we're gonna have you on ours for sure after the break, after holiday and Christmas break, and maybe before the college football season starts, we'll run it back on our side.
Absolutely, yes, sir. You guys been listening to the Air Raid Attack podcast. Listen to us on all major podcast platforms, from Jeremiah to JD to Air Raid Mike. Merry Christmas, and we'll see you guys soon. Take care.
Merry Christmas.